Would you reverse the inheritance tax measure?
Yes, straight away. We've said APR and BPR, both forms of this inheritance tax that Labour have imposed on not just family farms, but also family businesses. So everything from the hairdressing salon on your local high street owned by a family through to manufacturers. If they're owned by a family, then we as Conservatives have protected the entrepreneurship, the custodianship, if you like, of those family businesses. Labour has snatched that away with this death tax, and we have said that we will reverse it when in government.
Given that very clear view on this, have you, as a party, missed an opportunity here to be the sort of pro-farming party? Have Reform kind of taken up that mantle?
Well, we have very much been the friends of farming families, and indeed only yesterday I brought in the three largest farming organisations, the NFU, the CLA and the Tenant Farmers Association, to talk about the future of farming. They made clear to me that, of course, this death tax, the family farm tax, is already taking the future of farming away from families up and down the country. But I also want to have a conversation with farmers about how we can develop policy for the years ahead so that when we have the next election, we have a really interesting package of measures and ideas for the whole of our countryside and our coastal areas to support our environment, but also to ensure that we are growing our own food, that we're looking after our family farms, we're ensuring that we have a bright future for not just today's farmers, but for tomorrow's farmers as well.
There's some criticisms, including from the NFU this morning with us, about some of the measures the last Conservative government brought in, though, and focus on payments for the environment and how you treat the land as opposed to just producing food. Would you rethink some of that, or are you still committed to what you brought in the last government?
So actually, I think, you know, in terms of the public, we want to see, whether you live in a city or you live in the countryside, you want to see our countryside preserved and nurtured. And farming plays a critical role in that. Farmers look after 80% of the land in this country. And so environmental measures must be part of our future. And indeed, the majority of farmers agree with that. What we want to see, however, is that this is done at a pace that farmers can deal with. And what is so worrying about this latest budget from Labour, the budget a few months ago, is that not only did they impose the family farm tax, not only did they ratchet up national insurance on all businesses, not just farms and agricultural businesses, but they also drastically reduced the payments very, very quickly that farmers receive under the current system of subsidies. And so that is having a huge impact. Only yesterday, as I say, these farming organisations said that these drops in de-linked payments means that farms are going to go to the wall. We know that more than twice the number of businesses, agricultural businesses, are going bust compared to new businesses being set up in the last few months. So we want to ensure that the environment plays an important part of this. But of course, the number one job of farmers is to grow and produce food.
I wanted to move on to the policing bill, the crime bill that I'll be talking about with the Home Secretary in just a couple of minutes' time. New powers being given to the police. For example, that warrantless entry into homes is possible if modern-day tech, like Find My Phone on an iPhone, suggests that a stolen phone is in a particular property. Do you support that measure?
Well, of the 35 specific measures in this bill, 21 of them either appeared in our previous criminal justice bill just before the election or we have announced. So, of course, we will support those measures. And indeed, the very measure you have just described, the removing the need for a search warrant, we announced that. So I'm delighted that Labour is cutting and pasting from our ideas in order to bring this legislation before Parliament. But we will be scrutinising other aspects of the bill. So I will want to understand from the Home Secretary, for example, how she believes removing the summary-only offence of shoplifting of products below or to the value of below the £200, the long-term effects on that, and I say this as a former criminal barrister, the long-term effects on that on the Crown Court will be very significant, and I'm deeply concerned that these measures will mean that, for example, victims of rape will find it even harder and longer to get their day in court. And so we will be scrutinising this bill, but as I say, we welcome the measures because so many of them were in fact measures that we were bringing forward.
Well, we'll be talking about that with the Home Secretary in just a moment from now. Let's talk about Mike Amesbury. I mean, clearly the law is the law. Should the law change such that somebody in his position facing 10-week prison sentence should automatically be booted out of Parliament?
Well, I think the public and indeed members of Parliament have been disgusted by this and are asking that question. I find it extraordinary that someone can claim their salary from their prison cell when their job is to be here in Parliament representing their constituents. So I think, you know, the government needs to look at this, and we will look at these measures very, very carefully, whatever they bring forward. But I share the public's disgust that a Labour MP is sitting in prison serving a prison sentence because he beat up a constituent.
Victoria Atkins, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you this morning. Much appreciated.